Okay. Good morning and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back as always on this beautiful Thursday morning, 33 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. We do once again come to you live to speak what there is that the latest is in the world of football across different spheres. Of course, last night, for those of you that managed to join us, thank you so much. We really love the support you extended us for being part of last night's forum. As we talked about, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Hurricane, and the possibility that they cannot play in the same team. And as in this current crop of Thomas Tuchel's organization, we talked about the under 17, FIFA World Cup that is ongoing in Qatar and things like that. So indulge us as we continue the conversation on football this morning, taking the trip to Norway. We'll also get speaking Arsenal and things like that, because there's some news regarding injuries that did drop just last was it yesterday, and I thought it's worth reflecting on in as far as things go in the context of the international break, in the context of what we expect will happen after the international break. So please indulge with me as we go through that discussion. Then also the round of 32 fixtures, like I told you last night, for the ongoing Under 17 World Cup, will kick off. Will kick off on Friday, and then on Saturday as well. That's when those fixtures will be played. So do not miss out on any single thing in that regard. Anyways, allow me have our audience tested up before we even proceed any further, as we wait for the others to join us for this conversation on this beautiful morning, for us to engage on all those matters, among other things. I'm hoping to also get some t-shirts for Football Tribe. They will be mine, so do not get excited. You're not receiving any. Depending on the quality and how the output looks like entirely, I'll be showing you what they look like, and then if they're good enough and any of you likes them, then they can be available on pre-order. For a fee that we can discuss. So let's just wait and see how that will go. But like I told you guys, we're trying to step things up. So anyways, for those of you that are just joining us, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kisakos is your usual suspect. We are coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, and it's about 36 minutes past 9 a.m. East African time. What that means, it's about 36 minutes past the hour of 6 a.m. in some parts of Europe, because of the time differences and changes that have happened in the recent times. Ordinarily, would be 2 hours ahead of Europe, but now it's moved on to 3 hours. Whatever the justification for that is for you and I to keep guessing, because I've never really understood the concept of time in that sense of being hours ahead. I know it has everything to do with the sun, the rotation of the earth, and things like that. So let me just make sure I would not miss out on anything. Anyways, quickly, without wasting time. But we'll anyway submit in your comments. Please like the broadcast, but also if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. But submit it your comment. We'll be discussing whatever it is else you want us to discuss, other than what the topic says this morning. So Arsenal have dealt some injury blow in regards to their captain, Martin Odegaard. Now, there was a lot of speculation, anticipation, hope, and perhaps even faith that the Arsenal captain would be returning from injury, at least after the international break. maybe at least to make it into the squad for the North London Derby against Tottenham Hotspurs, or perhaps maybe the midweek game that they will have to play against Bayern Munich in the UEFA Champions League. Now, unfortunately, that may seem to be a distant dream, at least according to the Norwegian national team manager, as of yesterday, when he allayed his fears that just maybe that the Norwegian playmaker is not just about to return. I can see we have Katik 123 Shad says hi. Hi Katik, good morning. How are you doing, my brother? So he did come out to say that he's still some distance away from return. He is still some distance away from return. Now, whatever his justifications are, I'm sure, one, he's well-meaning. Two, it comes from the right place. Now, we know that it's the international break, and Norway are preparing to take on Estonia and Italy in as far as their final two games of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers go. And in the wake of that, Norway did request that the Arsenal captain, that's Martin Odegaard, be part of their squad as in a non-playing capacity. Now, one would wonder, why would you summon a player to be part of a team and yet he's not going to play anyway? Why are you sacrificing a slot that you could offer to maybe a youngster coming up somewhere, or maybe to another player to come and prove themselves? Not that that player would be a starter, but also being in and around the team can be helpful. But then, like I said the other day, I also understand that one of the toughest bits for players to go through, especially when it comes to injuries, has everything to do with the psychological bit of it. And for example, you and I have fallen sick before. For those of you that went through the episodes of COVID, if you ever contracted COVID, you know how excruciating that may have been in some form or respect. But I do not think it's the disease itself that you sort of fear that much, but you fear the uncertainty that lay around, the disease having no particular known cure, in that sort of sense. So equally, when you look around, when it comes to players and injuries, as they go through the physical pain, the rehab, the surgeries and everything, that physical bit, that for many people, they can endure, but it is a psychological bit of injuries that then they tend to struggle with, So some, especially if you're not with your family and you're playing in a foreign country, your family are not with you. Sometimes it's a limited scope of family that you have with you. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's just you, your spouse and your child who is young, and maybe a nanny. So being in and around player groups and environments and bigger family sort of helps players deal with that psychological side of these injuries and things like that. So in other words, Martin Odegaard is, being summoned to the national team while knowing very well that he won't be playing, pretty much what similarly happened with Argentina and Lisandro Martinez of Manchester United. I would want to believe that part of it is to help them in their recoveries, at least psychologically, but also being in and around familiar spaces with familiar people can help, so that you're not lonely, you're not anything in that regard. So while speaking yesterday or the other day, while speaking the other day, the Norway boss, Stell Solbakken, did reveal that the Arsenal captain is still some distance before he can return to full action, where majority, I'm sure, I do not know what the kind of anticipation will be for the Norwegians to expect Martin Odegaard to return, but or the anticipation that there lies in. But I think I can express or discuss the magnitude of what the anticipation with Arsenal fans is, because he remains the best playmaker that they do have in that team. He remains one of the best ball carriers that they do have, especially when it comes to advancing the ball. Of course, He's not perfect. I, for one, do think that there's certain aspects of his game that he can improve on. For example, releasing the ball much quicker. Can he do a one-touch play sometimes when it's really, really needed? Can he attempt that, splitting pass through the channel, through, the defenders and things like that? We know he's capable of doing it because he's done it before. So it's not too much to ask of him to up his game when it comes to that side of things. So I speak with the sense that he's a very elite player, but there are aspects of his game that he can improve on. In his absence, we've seen that while Arsenal have been scoring the goals, they've been keeping the clean sheets, they've been creating some chances. You can't help but think that they would have used him really. They would have needed him in some of those games. Particularly, I think their trip away to Sunderland, I think he could have helped also to try to unlock that Sunderland defense and low block a little bit more, especially in a game that really weighed so much on those Arsenal players, at least physically. So just imagine, let's say, if Arsenal had had the opportunity, maybe after the 1 hour mark, or even thereabout, to withdraw maybe Eberechi Eze and install Martin Odegaard, I think he would be a great addition. Same thing would apply maybe for their forward role. In the absence of Victor Gyökeres, Gabriel Jesus, and Kai Havertz, it was Mikel Merino that started as a striker or as the target man. So you can imagine. Let's imagine that you had maybe, a returnee like Kai Havertz, who they could throw into that game after 65 minutes or 70 minutes. So there would have been timely interventions. But just to emphasize the point, I think Martin Odegaard, now, statistically, in terms of numbers, when it comes to assists, again, you may not find that he has the best of numbers, but he's going to be oftentimes be part of some of the goals that Arsenal do score, either with the pre-assist or the assist itself. And we've seen him before go from distance and score. We've seen some spectacular goals against Tottenham Hotspurs that he scored, that he scored while in Arsenal colors and things like that. So I think it's a bit of a huge blow for Arsenal. While speaking about the recovery, Stell said, it's been steady. It's going in a steady direction, but he's still some distance. We know that he suffered that MCL, the medial cruciate ligament injury, during Arsenal's 2-0 victory back in October against West Ham when they clashed with Somerville. So that's when he did suffer that injury, and he's been out ever since. Now, the anticipation was that he would be out for a period of about maybe 6 weeks, which, by the end of the current international break, would be close to around that ballpark. But perhaps it could take him a little longer than many of us would have loved to see, than many of us would have had anticipated in terms of his recovery. And then, like I said, Arsenal do have very, very big games coming up. Like I've told you, particularly in the Premier League, when they return from the international break, they will take on Tottenham, then they will play Chelsea. Those 2 fixtures will wrap up November. Those 2 London derbies, then they will play Brentford. Brentford will be their first home game in I think about 5 Premier League games that they will have played, because we know they played away. Excuse me. We know they played away to Sunderland in their last fixture. We know that they had played another away fixture. When you look at some of their recent fixtures in terms of how they've been playing or where they have been playing. So in between those very, very busy schedules for the fixtures, you'll find that also Arsenal do have, they do have, in between that, they have, like I told you, they have a game against Bayern Munich. And I thought it's going to be even tougher, and that's why they need to have players return as soon as possible. So they played away to Burnley, they played away to Sunderland, they will play away to Tottenham Hotspur, they will play away to Chelsea, and then they will play at home against Bayern Munich, and then in the Premier League they do return home in that game against Brentford. Now, I'd want to believe it's all a positive thing. One would have thought that they've done well to steer the storm in the absence of at least 7 significant players in as far as their squad is concerned, to go through games against West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Sunderland. Now, they need some timely interventions in terms of returnees from injuries. So there's an expectation that Victor Gyökeres, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, possibly Noni Madueke could be some of the players that do return after the international break. But again, nothing is guaranteed yet. Like I said, there had been an expectation that at least 1 or 2 of those players could feature in Arsenal's game against Coventry in the junior side. But it was decided that none of them do feature. So, excuse me, I don't know why I'm overly yawning this morning. I don't know what happened, but anyways, I will soldier on. So you look at it in that way and think, because with those big games against Spurs, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Brentford to kickstart December, of course we know it's going to be a very, very busy schedule. They've had they've had some of their games rearranged. They've had some of their games rearranged due to the EFL Cup game in the quarterfinals against Crystal Palace. So in that whole busy schedule, they should really, really be welcoming back some players to help, alleviate on the load, to also improve on the quality of the team that starts. It's not to say that the quality of the team that has been starting has been lightweight, but I think you and I can agree that they can do better in some positions or in some roles. So when you look at, like I said, it's going to be really, really tight. So, for example, 23rd November, that's when they play Tottenham. 30th November, that's when they play, Chelsea, in between their Bayern Munich. After that, they play Brentford. Now, the Brentford game itself will be a midweek game on the 3rd of December, and yet on the 6th of December, they will have a game against Aston Villa, and then in between Aston Villa, before their next game in the Premier League against Wolverhampton Wanderers, there will be another UEFA Champions League game that they will have had to play. So that means it's not going to be an easy run. They will need almost all players to be available. That game in between Aston Villa and the Wolves game will be against Club Brugge away from home. So it's going to be really, really tight. That game will come on the 10th of December. And then, listen carefully, on the 10th of December and on the 13th of December, that means they will have 11th and 12th for recovery before returning to action on 13th of December to play at home against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Then they'll have a game against against Everton. They'll be playing away to Everton on the 20th of December. Then they'll have only 2 days rest or 2 days recovery, and then they will play Crystal Palace at home against they'll play Crystal Palace at home in the EFL Cup, quarterfinals. Now, again, 3 days later, they'll be in action against Brighton and Hove Albion. That will be on the 27th of December. That means they will not have a game on Christmas and on Boxing Day, And then on the 30th of December, they will then face off with Aston Villa. Now, that means in a space of 3 weeks, they have to meet Aston Villa at least twice. So that clearly tells you the importance of those fixtures. Then thereafter, they will play Bournemouth. They'll have a game against Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Inter Milan. Expect there in between to be an FA Cup game, as the case always is when the math of January does take its turn. So that's how busy it's going to be. And I think the news that they may need to wait a little longer for Martin Odegaard's return does not sound like sweet news to Arsenal's ears. However, they have coped without him. I think they can grind it out without him. Nonetheless, they would be better off with him. They would be better off with him. If you would ask me. So we'll wait and see. Then also quickly, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, the former Chelsea, star, has come out to say that he thinks he thinks that Arsenal will win the Premier League title. Now, he was speaking with Sky Sport, and that conversation got a bit cagey, or it got a bit awkward for him pretty much quickly. One, he says he thinks Arsenal will win the Premier League title and that this should be the season that they get to do it, or otherwise it may be a far distant dream. Now, he goes on to say he's always liked Arsenal because of their quality, because of their class and everything, tradition, and it's a big club. He acknowledges just as much. But he says he's a Chelsea fan, he's a Leeds fan, some of the clubs he played for, and he also goes on to then, I think, ruin it all when he says he also likes Spurs. You cannot like Arsenal and Spurs at the same time, especially when you're within the UK, I stressed this point last season when Tottenham Hotspurs met Manchester United in the EFL Cup final. And Arsenal fans over there in the UK were in support of Manchester United to win the UEFA Europa League. While on this side of the aisle, on the African continent, Arsenal fans were hell-bent on supporting Tottenham Hotspurs to win the UEFA Europa League and beat Manchester United. Now, I did explain that in context, and I said, guys, whatever the size of rivalry you think that there exists between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspurs in the UK and anything to do in that regard is the equivalent of what Man United and Arsenal fans have on the side of the aisle. So for them, Man United, in other words, for African Arsenal fans, Man United is the devil, is the team not to support, regardless of whichever opponent it is facing. While the reverse is true for Arsenal fans in the UK when it comes to Tottenham Hotspurs, So I was trying to explain in that very video that, look here, guys, you ought to understand that people here do not look at Tottenham as a big club. They look at it as a good team, a mid-table team. That's what they look at it like. Whereas Arsenal is looked at as an elite club within the realms of the likes of Manchester United, even though Manchester United are a more successful team. So when it comes to rivalry and where they would, steer towards, it is that simple for them. If you're in Africa, you'd rather any team beat up against Man United than a UK fan would. And the reverse is true. For an Arsenal fan based in the UK, they would rather any team beat up against Tottenham Hotspurs for as long as Spurs don't win, So, but he was saying that he does hope that Arsenal go on to, win the Premier League title. Do let me know what your predictions are. Who do you think will win the Premier League title? Like I've told you guys before, for us here on the, in fact, let's also reflect on that. When it comes to our, season predictions in terms of who will win the Premier League title. Personally, I gave it to Arsenal. I had predicted that Liverpool would come second, and that Manchester City would come fourth with Chelsea third, that Man United could possibly finish in 7th. Yes. And in between there being Aston Villa in 5th place, Newcastle in the 6th place, Tottenham in 8th, Nottingham Forest in 9th, Brighton in 10th, Fulham 11th, Everton 12th, Bournemouth 13th, Crystal Palace 14th, West Ham United 15th, Wolves 16th, Leeds United 17th, and the relegated teams will be Brentford, Sunderland, and Burnley. Now, as we speak, there's a sharp contrast between some of those predictions, not all, between some of those predictions and what we predicted would be the look of the outlook of the Premier League table at the end of the season. So currently, after 11 games played, we know that Arsenal are at the summit of standings. You know, it's Man City who are second, who I predicted would come fourth. It's Chelsea third, who I predicted would be third. So you can see Arsenal at top. So far, so good. It's a tick. Chelsea third, tick. Now, Manchester City have swapped places. They are second currently. And guess where Liverpool are, who I thought would come second? They are 8th. But like I told you guys, they're only 4 points off of the second place. And the season is not yet done. So perhaps maybe we'll get the predictions, right. But so far, after 11 games played, that's the look of the Premier League table. Now, like I said, Sunderland are 4th. I had not expected them to be here. Tottenham Hotspur are 5th, Aston Villa 6th. Again, pretty much like now, Aston Villa currently a position behind where I predicted they would finish. Manchester United are 7th. That's where I predicted them to finish. Liverpool are 8th, Bournemouth 9th, Crystal Palace 10th, Brighton 11th, Brentford 12th, Everton 13th, Newcastle 14th, Fulham, Leeds United, Burnley. And those in the relegation zone are West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, when you compare the two tables, if you are to ask me, would I have a swap of places? Would I have to rethink some of my predictions? The quick answer is yes. The international break is back. Yep, we are so close to the World Cup draw. Yes, very, very soon. Pedri. But good morning to you too. How are you doing, my brother? I hope you're doing all right. So when I look at some of those predictions, let me see. I think I could change my stance about Manchester City. I could also change my stance about Liverpool. I could change my stance about Brentford. And yeah, I know the way Newcastle have started the Premier League season has been far from convincing. But I think I'll change my mind on Sunderland, change my mind on Brentford, change my mind on Man City and Liverpool. So those 4 teams, maybe, just maybe, that's where I would have them changed. Why are you guys talking about club football? Well, we deviated into club football, but we started with the international break because the conversation stemmed from the Norway manager. That's still. Oh, forgive my mispronunciation of the name. I struggle with the pronunciation of his name, but his name is still. Okay. Let me just read it. Still Solbakken. Yes, that's where the conversation emanated from when he came out to say that Martin Odegaard is still some distance from return after he talked about Odegaard joined with the Norwegian national team in a non-playing capacity. But you say it's all about the World Cup. No, yeah, it is all about the World Cup. Those games, majority of those games, start today. At least the good ones that are worth their salt, and who are getting to go to that. But anyway, now that you brought it up, let's move there and look at what's to come. In as far as the UEFA World Cup qualifiers go, Azerbaijan will be up against Iceland today. France will be up against Ukraine at 20:45 hours. Then you'll have Armenia up against Hungary. You'll have Ireland up against Portugal. Norway will be up against Estonia. Italy will play away to Moldova. Andorra will be up against Albania, while England will take on Serbia. So those are the fixtures to come in as far as UEFA is concerned. Then when you return to the Black Man's continent, that's Africa, we have the second place playoffs. In other words, the best 4 teams that finished second out of the 9 groups have their playoff, with Nigeria up against Gabon at 7 p.m. East African time. And then at 10 p.m. East African time, Cameroon will be up against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Whoever wins in those 2 respective fixtures will meet at the next level, which would be the playoff final for the continent, and then determine how they proceed to the intercontinental level, where things are expected to be to get tougher for whoever advances through for the side of Africa in that regard. So I thought that's Then also, in as far as the World Cup qualifiers are concerned, in Asia, UAE will be up against Iraq. That's for today's fixtures. Then the action will continue tomorrow. That will be on Friday. That will be on Friday. Sorry. Yes, the action will continue on Friday. Yes, Friday, the 14th of November. Luxembourg will be up against Germany. Slovakia will take on Northern Ireland. Finland will be up against Malta. Poland will take on Netherlands. Croatia will be up against the Faroe Islands. And then Gibraltar will be up against Montenegro. And then Slovenia, this will be on Saturday. Slovenia will be up against Kosovo. Switzerland will take on Sweden. Denmark will be up against Belarus. Greece will take on Scotland, while Spain will be away to Georgia. Turkey will take on Bulgaria. Remember, Spain will be playing Georgia and Turkey during this international break. Cyprus will be up against Austria. Romania will be playing away to Bosnia and Herzegovina, while Kazakhstan will be up against Belgium. Liechtenstein will be up against Wales, while on Sunday you'll have Azerbaijan against France, Ukraine against Ireland, Ukraine against Iceland, Hungary against Ireland, Portugal against Armenia, among many other fixtures, including Israel up against Moldova, Italy against Norway, and Albania against England, while Serbia will play Latvia. So those are some of the fixtures that will be coming around the corner really, really soon. In as far as the World Cup qualifiers do go for Europe, and I've given you what is happening with Africa, and I've also told you that the FIFA World Cup under-17 action does resume on Friday at the round of 32. Those games will be played between Friday and Saturday to determine who can advance to the round of 16. So do not miss out on any of that action that will also be coming your way as we speak. Anyways, guys, thank you so much, Pedri. Thank you so much, Katki, and every single one of you that has been part of this morning broadcast. We've only done 33 minutes, but yeah, that will do. It's always a pleasure doing this with you guys. And I wish you nothing but the very best of a wonderful day. I will be back. The interview that I told you I had hoped to do today has been pushed to tomorrow, so it won't be coming on the channel today. I will do the interview tomorrow, and if the edits can happen as quickly as I hope they do, then we will be putting it out tomorrow. So be sure to look out for that. And that's basically it from me for now. And also with the forum for the Arsenal fans, I'm still trying. I'm yet to get a response. I'd hope to organize a conversation in that form, but nothing has been confirmed yet. So once I do have anything confirmed, be sure I'll be here to let you know what you guys should expect on the channel. But continue to watch whatever piece of content there is on the channel, go and, under the video section, under the video section, and watch all that content. Leave us a comment, leave us a like, and let us know how what your views are, and we can continue to discuss them. I can see we have some new subscribers, and yeah, welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. Enjoy your stay here, but while you're here, please go to the channel, under the video section, under the live section, and watch all that content. It's been a pleasure. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye for now.